Welcome to Meet the Candidate with your host, Sue Lonnie Madsen. Meet the Candidate is your opportunity to see local candidates and hear about the experiences that have shaped their lives. Meet the Candidate is a nonpartisan community project brought to you by our friends at Greater Spokane Incorporated, Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe, We Vote, and Better Spokane. Now, here's Sue Lonnie.
So welcome to Meet the Candidate, and my guest for this session is Al French, who is running for re-election as Spokane County Commissioner. Welcome, Al.
Thank you. Welcome.
Glad you could make the time to come in and chat with us and just introduce yourself to voters. I know you've been on the ballot before, but this is an opportunity to describe a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up and go to school?
Well, my dad was a career Army serviceman, and so we got the privilege of traveling all over the country and actually spent some time in Europe. But the last 11 years of his time I spent in Las Vegas, or in El Paso, Texas, and then when he retired, we went to Las Vegas. So I spent my high school years in Las Vegas.
Okay, you know, we've had a number of candidates who have that military kid background.
Yeah.
It does give you a broad exposure.
It sure does.
To a lot of things. What were some of some highlights of that? Some really interesting experiences or activities you were able to participate in? Well,
when we were in Las Vegas, I was able to participate in the Boy Scouts, and so that was a very good experience in terms of being engaged in community service. And then when we moved to Las Vegas, and my dad retired from the Army, I got my first job when I was 14. I wanted to have a motorcycle, and Dad said, "Fine, go earn the money to pay for it." And so I got paper routes, and then when I was 15, I learned how to wash dishes and became.
There is a trick to that.
There is a trick, yeah, especially in a restaurant. And then ultimately became a waiter and maitre d'. And then in my senior year in high school, I worked for a savings and loan in the mailroom. And so that was my early years. And when I graduated from high school, I went into the Marine Corps. And that was back in 1969 when we were engaged overseas and stuff. So I spent 3 years in the Marines.
Oh, I see. And did you serve overseas?
I did not serve overseas. My commander said that, "Hang tough, you're my best radio man. You're going to go over with me." And instead of going overseas, he ended up becoming the commander for Quantico. And so he took me with him, and I became an instructor at Officer Candidate School at Quantico.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Radio man, huh?
Radio man, that's right.
That's what my dad did in the Coast Guard.
Oh, is that right?
He was the radio guy.
Yeah.
No, I know that you and I share a profession.
That's right.
Maybe a past profession. I'm not sure either of us is actively practicing architecture. But what brought you to the University of Idaho for architecture?
Actually, if there were the top two schools on the West Coast was the University of Idaho and Arizona State. And doing my research, I found that Arizona State had just hired the dean from the University of Idaho. So I figured the programs had to be the same. And Idaho had a program that said if you're a Vietnam-era vet and declared Idaho as your state of residence, you automatically became an in-state resident. So my tuition at Idaho was $258 a semester, where at Arizona it was $3,900. So even without the degree, I could work out the math. And I came to Moscow, Idaho, got my 5-year degree in architecture. And then in my last 2 years, I got a minor in business finance and fell in love with the Northwest and had jobs here in Spokane waiting for me and came up to Spokane. And I tell people I will die here. Some like to think sooner than later, but this is home. I can't imagine living anywhere else in the world.
That's a good story of choosing Spokane.
Yeah.
In your travels, is there some place where the travel experience itself really gave you some insights into life?
You know, I've had the opportunity to live just about in every part of this country and then spend some time in Europe. But, you know, to be honest with you, nothing compares to Spokane. I just cannot imagine living anywhere else. I've had the opportunity to snow ski in the morning and water ski in the afternoon. I've enjoy the outdoors, enjoy the community. It's like I love the ability to walk down the street and smile at somebody and have them smile back. Say, "How you doing?" and they actually respond. Seattle, you can walk down the street for hours and never have anybody look you in the eye. and Spokane is home.
So when you're here and happy and snow skiing and all, what prompted you to volunteer for elected office? That's a big jump.
Well, actually, it was actually my neighbors. They knew I was an architect and asked me if I'd help build a cop shop, and I did that. It's located up in Wellesley and Addison. And then they asked me to be the leader of the neighborhood council, and I did that. And we took third in the nation as neighborhood of the year under my leadership. And then they asked me to run for city council, and I did. I served 8 years on the Spokane City Council and got term limited off. And so I decided I was approached by the state party to run for state office, and I decided I really like local politics. And so I ran for county commissioner in 2010 and won. And so now I'm wrapping up my second term and hoping the voters will give me the honor to serve them for one more term.
Okay. So that last question that you get to do whatever you want with is how do you see the duties of this elected office, and why should voters choose you?
Well, the office of county commissioner is unique in governmental structure here in the state of Washington because you have executive branch, the executive branch, the legislative branch, and judicial branch, and you fill one of those slots. But the county commissioner actually does all three jobs. We're the only position in the state where one individual serves as legislative, executive, and judicial, and that's our job.
How does the judicial piece fit in there?
So we rule on like animal control issues. Okay. We rule on land use issues. We do a number of those kind of quasi-judicial hearings and stuff. So, we're running an organization with 2,000 employees and $750 million budget, and you're responsible for everything from animal control to the criminal justice system to parks, land use policies, economic development. You really have to develop an expertise in just about every aspect of community involvement. And so taxpayers have blessed me with a great education on how government should and should not work. And I try and use that education for the benefit of the community. Right now I serve on about 40 different boards and commissions for the local, regional, and state level. I don't do it because it's required of the job. I do it because it makes me a better commissioner. And it's important for me to make sure that this community is represented in Olympia and in Washington, D.C., and bring resources back to help maintain our quality of life and protect our citizens and stuff. So it's a very demanding job, but it's every day is different. And every day is a new challenge, but it's also an opportunity to have new successes.
Okay, well, that's a pretty good final pitch, and I wish you the best of luck on your campaign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Meet the Candidate. Spokane Talks thanks our community-minded partners, Greater Spokane Incorporated, the Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe We Vote, and Better Spokane for helping make Meet the Candidate possible.